The film opens as a lady strategies. Popular author Olivia Perkin for an autograph the writer graciously accepts. The reward and symptoms the female's e-book. With a smile as the girl leaves Olivia's boyfriend Kyle arrives after a protracted paintings assembly. Their inverse is only a few months away, and he or she excitedly reveals a plan for a romantic getaway to the Haven Islands. However, in preference to joy, Kyle reveals that he wants to split. Taken aback, Olivia tries to attain cause with him, but he continues. It's the first-class decision for them. Each a month after the nasty breakup, Olivia has a tendency a video conference. Together with her writer, she reassures the publisher that she's working on the outline for the next novel, but she cannot show her development due to the fact she hasn't written a single sentence. Her manager reminds Olivia of the stress to supply the season's biggest e-book release, with a firm non-negotiable deadline of 10 days. Is then set. Cornered but decided, Olivia swallows her satisfaction and guarantees to deliver. Meanwhile, within the fictional nation of Trovia, Prince Alexander reads a captivating journey novel, Love Certain. He's inspired with the aid of the writer Olivia Perkins and longs for a spoil from his royal ordinary, but his butler Winston reveals a packed timetable of official engagements, which includes dinner, speeches, legitimate visits, and finally a grand ball. In their palace, the butler then fingers him a letter from Dr. Lee, who runs a marine life conservatory within the Haven Islands. Curious, Alexander opens the letter and sees an invitation to a fundraiser at the Haven Islands Marine Reserve facility. Winston informs him that the date for the fundraiser clashes with the royal ball. Unexpectedly, Queen Patricia enters the chamber. She tells him that she noticed the Lady of Rena Palace, Catherine, at breakfast, seeking to arrange a marriage between her son and the lady. She invited Catherine to the palace ball. Later that week, Alexander isn't always satisfied. Approximately this as he does no longer want to marry Catherine. However, despite his lack of enthusiasm, the Queen believes Catherine is the ideal and shape for him. Out of the blue, Alexander hatches a plan to escape from Catherine. He informs his mother that the ball clashes with his look at a fundraiser on the Haven Islands. The Queen is angry that she was not informed of this, but Alexander insists that an absence from the fundraiser will imply terrible PR for him. Eventually, the Queen is of the same opinion to allow him pass. However, warns him now not to waste time on personal fantasies. In the next scene, Olivia browses the cabinets of a New York bookstore and notices her own book, Lovebound. Prince Alexander is also in the identical shop, and the two collide, sending the books tumbling. He apologizes profusely and helps her acquire the books. Noticing love shore in her palms, Alexander remarks how tons he loves the e-book. The prince feels like he has seen the lady someplace. However, Olivia, unaware of his identity, thank you him and walks away. As she leaves, Alexander notices her photo on the book's cowl and realizes she is the writer he just praised, but it is too late, as Olivia is already misplaced among the crowd of recent York lower back in her rental. As Olivia is spending some time by myself, she hears a noisy knock at the door. Upon commencing it, she finds her friend Katie, who has included takeaway food. The two then talk approximately her current breakup and writer's block. Suddenly, Katie notices a brochure for Haven Island positioned on the desk. She points out that the vacation can also help her friend conquer the author's block. Olivia considers the idea and has the same opinion to go to the Haven Islands for per week lengthy trip. Following this, the buddies arrive at their motel room at the beautiful tropical island. Katie immediately heads for the pool, even as Olivia specializes in paintings. However, feeling Uninspired for the novel, she too comes to a decision. To take a destroy and go for a stroll along the beach. A few moments later she spots her ex Kyle with a girl inside the same hotel. She dives into the nearest timber to avoid being seen. All at once the fascinating stranger from the bookshop greets her from at the back of. He introduces himself as Alexander and asks if the whole thing is Kate, barely embarrassed. Olivia lies approximately the state of affairs and says she turned into, without a doubt, admiring the flora. Alexander asks if she's seeking out thought for her new ebook and apologizes for no longer recognizing her earlier in Big Apple. Simply then Kyle and his new lady friend Tiffany be part of the scene. The ex-boyfriend explains how he met Tiffany 3 months in advance at a business assembly. Alternatively, Olivia is baffled by means of Kyle's behavior. Once they have been collectively, he by no means agreed to go for a holiday and became usually busy at paintings. However, abruptly, he makes a decision to pop up in the same inn she's staying in, along with his new lady friend. Later, by way of the pool, Olivia rants about Kyle cheating on her. However, Katie is extra interested by the new guy she becomes speaking to earlier. That evening, Alexander visits the island's marine laboratory and feels quite proud as he examines the vicinity. At that second, Winston arrives and informs him that Dr. Lee won't be able to attend the fundraiser event. Alexander is aware of that it's miles the handiest manner the lab makes cash, so he decides to host it himself. However, he is barely concerned about having to jot down a speech for the event. In the subsequent scene, Alexander and Winston come upon Olivia and Katie at some point of their morning walk. Olivia asks if the two men are on excursion, collectively looking to disguise his actual identity. The prince says that they may be here as element time specialists for the Marine Reserve fundraiser. He then offers to show the two women the severe facilities within the motel, seeing a threat to combine up with good-looking, exciting guys. Katie straight away has the same opinion. Olivia to start with turns down the provide, but on Katie's request she concurs to come after securing a type of double date. The two guys cross their separate ways fortuitously as they stroll closer to their rooms. We see Ridley Queen Patricia's safety head spying at the prince. He then calls the queen and informs there may be no purpose for subject as of now. The subsequent morning, Olivia and Katie arrive on the seashore for a tour of the resort facilities. The prince then again is making plans, something barely more adventurous soon. They're kaying out on the open sea. Alexander tries to train Olivia a way to use a paddle, however she hilariously falls into the water. Feeling barely embarrassed, she then pushes Alexander into the water and each of them share a snicker. Afterwards, Tiffany invites Olivia and Alexander for a game of volleyball. Kyle interrupts us and informs his new female friend that Olivia is not too fond of sports activities. Indignant at the notion, she comfortably joins the game and drags the prince at the side of her, and after some stunning actions, they in the end manage to win the sport. Irritated at the sight of his ex-girlfriend celebrating with another guy, Kyle immediately walks off, leaving a burdened Tiffany at the back of. After lunch, Alexander and Olivia exit for a stroll through the seaside. Unbeknownst to them, Ridley is relaying all this data to the queen, who asks him to find out greater. Approximately this thriller girl. Meanwhile, the prince opens up approximately his non-public lifestyle's mom would not admire his interest in marine ecology at the same time as his late father strongly believed in saving the environment. For this reason, whenever he doubts himself, Alexander visits the island, which offers him mental energy. On the other hand, Olivia, famous her recent struggles to discover a correct opening for her New ebook concerned about the fast. Approaching cutoff date, she confesses that all of the adventures in her preceding books were really made up. Alexander is quite inspired with her creativity and reassures her that her fans would not mind waiting for the new book as he drops her off for the night time. The prince invitations Olivia to wait the Marine Reserve fundraiser with him. At this factor, it's evident that both of them are slowly falling in love. Later, Kylie comes return to the room and reveals Olivia writing something on her laptop. The author has finally found the plenty wished proposal to start her new e-book. But they may be interrupted via Ridley, who's disguised as a motel personnel. After giving them a bottle of champagne as a present, he asks their names and leaves. He then reviews lower back to the Queen, who eventually comes to recognize approximately Olivia. Knowing that she comes from a working-class domestic, the Queen asks her protection head to separate her son and the not unusual female. Early subsequent morning, Alexander meets up with Olivia and tells her how a great deal he enjoyed her business enterprise. The prince is ready to admit his royal identity when Ridley unexpectedly arrives at the scene. He arms the prince. A call from the Queen, however, Alexander ignores his request and subsequently reveals his mystery identification to Olivia. He says that he's an real prince and that he lied to her approximately his career. Regrettably, this upsets Olivia, and he or she storms away from there feeling deceived. Again in her room, she tells Katie the whole thing, approximately Alexander's actual identity. She explains how he has been mendacity to her for the past 3 days. However, Katie makes a case for the prince. Maybe he wanted to have authentic connection with regular human beings without freaking them out. Abruptly, their communique is interrupted by way of the prince himself, who has come to ask for Olivia's forgiveness. He promises not to maintain any secrets from her moving forward. Finding out to forgive him, Olivia asks Alexander to